Good morning, everyone. It's Jane Mann. How are you? I'm excited to see you all here. And today we are going to be doing the Clareblend Mini, a facial contouring lift along the jawline only. But I wanted to hit a couple things beforehand. Home beauty can be very successful if you incorporate all the elements. If you've been a student of mine or you're a client of mine, you hear me talk all the time about the hidden three: posture, bite, and flexibility. To me, these three elements are the most commonly overlooked, and we rush to replace or fill or freeze before we really address what is going on anatomically in our life. So the first thing I did to prep for today was I used my Aura Lift. And I like my Aura Lift because it's a giant reset button. Literally, it just starts to relax all of my muscles in the scalp, as long as my jaw and my neck. And I begin to just even feel the pressure behind my eyes relax. So that's how I kind of address my bite. My posture, you guys can do this at home when you're kind of prepping to do the microcurrent anywhere. And you can take a towel that I've rolled up here and you set it along the back here. And as you lay down, you begin to open up, and we start to open up what we call the thoracic region. And that's where a lot of lymph gets stagnant. It gets stagnant right underneath these collarbones and even into the armpit. So when you can open that up, that's really nice. Another tool is the heart. And this is something that, again, you lay on, and these are like dense foam little nubs, and they go right into that occipital area. And the occipital area is really the place where your head hits a shampoo bowl, if you remember those days when you could get your hair done. So that's just opening up, and we begin to release a lot of the fascial restriction in the pectoral area, and we start to kind of rebuild those muscles in the back. That is a really big component to aging that we don't necessarily think about. And that'll be another maybe video at a different time. So let's warm up with our anmas. I see a lot of you on. And one question I'm looking at right now is I have an old mini and a new one. Is there a way to tell that the old one's working? If it beeps, it's probably working. So I'm warming up with the Anma, and I'm putting stuff all over. And I like this line. It's a XO 8. I'm sure your estheticians probably carry that. And it's like a stem cell placenta. That's nice. But what I really love is it keeps a little bit of lubrication without any oil, because in prepping to do microcurrent, while some oils are conductive, we really want to use more of a water-based medium. So I'm just going to go in and start to warm all of this up. And the one reason I love to do this is we're starting to get microcirculation in these areas. We're starting to release. Maybe you slept wrong on a pillow, or maybe you just have been working extra on computers and Zoom, and everything has us so hunched over. When we can use the Anma to really warm up those muscles along, the trapezius, all the way down, even into the pectoral region, if you're on that towel, or the heart, this is a one way just to really get that lymph gently moving. Me in the shower, I do it all over my body. And again, it's a very light touch. I refer to my touches in 3 phases: 1, 2, or 3. 1 would be kind of just like rubbing the very top of the skin, thinking of almost not a feather weight, but just maybe the weight of your hand. Level 2 is when I'm going a little bit deeper into the tissue, and I'm moving that tissue along the muscle. And then 3 is really digging in there. I rarely use a 3. I might use it on an acupressure point. Sometimes in my scalp, I will do it, and that feels really good. But whatever your little Anma routine is, I feel that the directions in the kind of the brochure of this really gives you a nice little routine to follow and do. You can't ever go wrong just going with the basics. And anytime you want to step outside the box, that's always kind of fun too. If you step outside the box and you think that you really have something interesting, reach out to me. I am always willing to learn more and see what people do. So once we've kind of gone into doing that, I'm going to just do a quick lymph this way and just kind of brushing over. My lotion is already starting to dry, so you can kind of see that. And since we're really focusing on the jawline, I'm just going to kind of stretch out and brush to the side. And again, I always kind of find an anchor point. So since we're just really focusing here today, because I really feel that a jaw profile is one of the most subliminal, youthful cues a woman can have. And so sometimes we have to assist that because toxins love to hide out in here. And it does because the mandible doesn't get a lot of movement, especially if you are over closing. It just becomes kind of stagnant in here, and lymph is dependent upon muscle movement. And so anytime we can use microcurrent or we can stretch this area, we can really help to define the jawline. So again, I kind of take an anchor and I just brush at a level 1 over. And we always like to go out because that's where the lymphatic ducts are, and then to go down. And you can even see just by doing that little bit, I'm starting to get that microcirculation that's so lovely in the skin. Next, have your conductor gel ready. When you use the microcurrent mini, it is dependent upon a nice heavy gel load. And you want to put it in the areas that you work. I water mine down with sometimes a little bit of a product in it. I prepped my skin today with Victoria Deanne Lift Kit. Those are specific peptides for lift. So I like to always kind of add that in, especially with microcurrent, because I do just feel like the two play so well in the sandbox. And if you have your microcurrent minis plugged in, let's start out again, even though we finished with lymph with the Anma, let's start with lymph on the mini. Now the mini is interesting because it has 2 probes. So if you have a new face or a mini or a zip, many times you can follow along doing the same thing. For the microcurrent mini, you'll hear a beep, and then I think it's like every 10 seconds, there's another beep. And for lymph, I move probably at the rate of a whole note, if any of you are musically inclined, like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I do that because the interplay between these two, they're communicating in between here. So what's being affected right now is this area in between these 2 probes. So we want to just kind of go out just nice and slow, and we're just starting to kind of open up this area. And this is just a nice way, again, to bring in some microcirculation and to bring in some energy. The positive probe and the negative probe oscillate back and forth, but the positive emits a hydrogen and the negative emits a hydroxyl or an OH. But hydrogen is used in the cell respiratory cycle to create ATP. And that's why microcurrent is so fantastic as a home unit. So I'm just going to continue going down the neck. And you can see, versus one of the tutorials I did a while back when I was using the Pico Neurotris, I'm working in a much smaller area. But it doesn't mean it doesn't work. It just means you take your time and you go a little bit more delicately along the area. So you just kind of keep going. You know what I have found is in one of my groups lately, we've been doing microcurrent every 72 hours, and we've had just an amazing time. Okay, I'm going to go underneath the jawline. So here I'm going to sandwich this all along my jaw. And so I kind of try to replicate how I would do that if I were at home. And I think the best thing is listen to a podcast, listen to maybe Oprah's Soulful Sunday, listen to anything empowering to you. Something that really just maybe opens your mind up a little bit, gives you a little bit different of a perspective, because you will sit and actually do the microcurrent the amount of time it takes. I am guilty of this. I used to tell my clients, just do it. Just, get it in there. And if you're just doing it 15 minutes, we're doing something. But since I've had this quarantine and I've really been just focused on doing microcurrent, I see a gigantic change in my skin. And 2, it's so worth the hour of you time, because you will actually just be doing something so unique and beneficial for your skin that no product can do. So I'm just going to continue to kind of go up. And going out towards the ear. And we always go out towards the ear because, again, that's where that lymph duct is. And then I like to kind of come down. So I kind of like to just make almost like a boomerang type thing. And I'm just ushering in the rest of that stagnant fluid or excess toxins to kind of come out. You can already start to see the change in my one side of the face as the other. So, how do you do fascial release with the Mini? When we have, gloves, we're able to have the microcurrent and the tissue in between. But if we don't, and we have a tool like this, I really like to anchor. And I like to move up with the unit. So we're going to anchor here about an inch lower than my neck. And now we're going to go up. And this is where I'm okay being a little sticky and not totally fluid. If you hear, I don't know if you can hear the beeps, but I am getting the beeps. And so as long as I hear those beeps, I know that my unit is conductive. The moment that I stop getting those beeps, it's not conductive and I have to add more gel. So I am literally pulling away from one another. I'm anchoring and my tension is probably in between a 1-2. So I'm still kind of holding. I obviously have a little bit more grip on because my hand is touching my skin and the unit moves, but you are still able to really kind of go in. And when we're working with fascia, it's not a quick move. It's not real exciting to watch, and it certainly isn't fancy, and there aren't a lot of delicate hand moves. Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to create a constant tension that we place on that area that the fascia starts to release. And normally it's anywhere between 30 to 90 seconds. that we start to get that release. But the benefit is if that fascia is dehydrated, if you would look at kind of the inner webbings of my fingers, fascia kind of is fluid. They call it tensendric, and when there's tension in one area, something gives, and it's fluid. But in certain areas that are very tight, like many times in the masseter area or the jaw area, the fascia has almost hardened because it becomes dehydrated and there's not a lot of movement. So we have to hold it to try and get those little tentacles or those little fiber network to move a little. And that's why it takes a while. But if you really have a dense jawline, it's worth it because you can open this up and then you can get more of that lymph loosened and go back in and do the microcurrent and the lymphatic. I have a couple questions coming up. One says, how does this compare to the new face? It looks like it could get deeper. New faces, prongs are wider. So you could, it's a very comfortable zone. I don't know the UA, which is kind of the flow or the pressure of the flow of the current. And I don't know the frequencies. I know that Clareblend is at UA of 340. And so generally that's really kind of a safe area to go in. It's a great unit for home use, especially for people that don't want to really get into microcurrent, but maybe you bought it because you just really like how it goes around the eyes, and microcurrent is safe around the eyes. And so this is just always a really nice way to get in little areas. I was watching Christine the other day, and she kind of latches it and lifts. And there's lots that you can do with this tiny little unit. You can also do that along the jawline after we kind of stretch out the fascia. The mini can get very specific in very specific areas. As we get older, I think one of the major things, the biggest complaint I see among a lot of women is the pillowing in here. It's like a sneaky little thing. It's just like one day you wake up and you're like, wait, what just happened? And so you can see it right here on me, right there. That's going to tell you I'm over 40. So a lot of times that can be lymphatic. A lot of times that's the beginning of glycation. So this I have always said, and there's no study to prove it. So again, this is, the world according to Jane, or microcurrent according to Jane. But I have seen such a change in skin with microcurrent and glycation. And as long as your skin is adhered to the muscle. So I do have this little pillowing here, but the skin is still adhered to the muscle. Microcurrent is still going to be a phenomenal option for me. The moment that you begin to have skin that has released, or we call it loss of adhesion to the muscle, at that point, we need to discuss other options. But at this point, microcurrent, at my point, is very good. Someone is asking, how does it compare to using microcurrent gloves? It's really going to come down to you as a consumer and what you want to learn. Personally, I prefer gloves, but if I'm traveling in the car and I've got, somebody driving, yeah, this plugs into any type of adapter, because it's like I don't know what they call it, but it's like a flash drive almost. You can just stick it in anywhere and it runs. So I will do this if we are driving to LA to a party and I'm going to need to kind of get ready before I get there. I'll always do the microcurrent mini in the car. One great question I'm getting, is there a difference between holding these probes horizontally or vertically? Again, the current is active in between this area. So whether I'm this way or this way. It's however you're moving. It's too small to do any type of Golgi tendon or any type of plumping this way. But the smoothing, just if you're going up, I like to go up the muscle because I kind of feel like I'm sandwiching that muscle in between there. So if we were to take a picture here, I always like to have my thing, I can show you how we've got these muscles, and then this is a little diagram of how I kind of like to take the Clareblend in this way. And I take the Clareblend in this way, and I take my hands and my gloves in this way when I am doing that. So now I'm going to kind of anchor at my jawline, and I'm again kind of going up. And if any of you are massage therapists, many times we talk about lengthening a muscle from the belly of the muscle. So that's the center of the muscle and going out. And so you can create length. You can also shorten a muscle by going to the insert and origin and going towards one another. So you can apply that same philosophy in doing this. So hypothetically, I would like to lengthen my buccinator, and the buccinator is the smile muscle. And so you can see this right in here can get really congested. So I would probably take this out here and lengthen and lengthen. And then to accommodate, I'll take it on the other side and lengthen and lengthen. Yes, their conductive gel comes with most microcurrent units. A funny question that I get is, let me kind of finish this. Now I'm going to hold up here and I'm going to go down. Is there magic in the conduction gel? I think the magic is what you do before you put the conductive gel on. What products are you using? How are you maintaining your skin? How much water are you drinking? Because electricity is really carried through the hydration of the tissues and the hydration of the cells. And so you really want a unit that is able to gauge the hydration and accommodate the current to give you the best results. And those usually are going to be in your esthetician's rooms. But in the meantime, doing something at home, prep your skin, hydrate your skin, use a mask, use, good products that you can continually enhance the conductivity. Now, when you go over your skin, sometimes when you go over, you're going to feel like, oh, this, like from here, this just flows. But here, it's like I'm going through mud, or, there's a density here. So I know that I have a bunch of bound up fascia. So that's where I would sit in this area. If you have, in the old days, they used to put filler, a lot of filler, a type of filler, and it started to fall. And so some clients have kind of like a bunching of filler down here because it fell down. This is like a safe way. You can kind of manipulate that with the fascial contouring. You can do it with the Anma, but you can also do it with your Clareblend Mini, just kind of separating that. And I talk about it like untangling a necklace. You can feel that the fascia is bound, and you can feel that it's restricted in an area by the continuity and the flow of the way that the tissue moves. And then every now and then you go, oh, this isn't so pliable. So that's restricted fascia. I can't tell you how it got restricted, and I can't tell you really how to unwind it. That comes through you feeling it and seeing what happens and being patient and holding. But you can also do that with the Mini and kind of going up. So the depressor angulize, these are these little things. This pulls down here. I see it all the time. And sometimes in some of the groups, you know, the girls are like, well, tighten the zygomatics, tighten the zygomatics. It's girls, it's not there. Let's think about this, okay? Let's go back to Louise. Now, if this is pulled down here, one, we want to lengthen in this, but fascia-wise, this is controlled down here by the neck. So if you have really tight depressor angulize, you're going to hold down here and you're going to separate. So do you see how I'm doing? I'm pulling down and I'm pulling up in this area. Somebody's asking if you can use 2 minis at once. Yeah, you could. I don't think there would be a conflict. You have to think like an electrical engineer, which that's not my thing. I would have to ask Clareblend if that, because again, you've got the current in this unit and these two probes are talking to one another. If you add another one, they're not programmed to talk to one another crisscross up here. So while you were working this, you're working in between here. And if you're using another one, you're working in here. So you could do that to this way, and I think that would be totally fine. You just wouldn't want to negate the current by canceling it out. But back to the depressor anguli, kind of holding it and going it down. Microcurrent is safe for any color of skin. Now, here's the deal though. Not every color of skin responds the same. Of my Asian clients, my Black clients, they have a stronger oil base. So you need a unit that's going to calculate in for what's called impedance. And impedance is kind of a blocking factor of such. So you always need to make sure that if you have that with, you know, darker skins tend to hold more oil. So you clean them really well. The mechanics of microcurrent and what microcurrent does absolutely works the same because skin is composed of, you know, the same cells. So girls, that's kind of how you would do fascial contouring release. We kind of go up, you can go down. I promised myself I wouldn't make this more than a half an hour. I have professional groups that we go over things all the time. We're starting a consumer group that's really about microcurrent and how to use it at home to be the most effective. We're even starting a group in a couple weeks, another one called Microcurrent with Me, and that is this really fun group together. Every 72 hours, a group of us meet. I don't record it because it's kind of like our girl time together. We sit, we talk, we, you know, try different things. For the first probably 7, I instruct on how we should do it. And then for the final 5 or 6, we're just all doing microcurrent and playing around with ideas outside the box. So I hope this was beneficial and helpful to you. If you have any questions, please email me. If you're more interested in the aura lift or the heart, all of these things are on my website. And the Anma obviously is on the website. And anything I can do to help you, I'd appreciate it. One person just asked, my group is on what's called a Mighty Networks with an S, mightynetworks.com. It's under microcurrent and aesthetics. And then you'll see Skin by Jane Mann. And then you just fill out something. Currently is a non-subscription, but that is only for several more weeks. And then there'll be a $10 monthly charge because I am quite active on it. And I'm always trying to bring you guys new information. I appreciate everyone that showed up today. Have a fabulous Mother's Day if you're a mother, or send your mother love otherwise. And I look forward to seeing you guys next Saturday. I will post what I'm doing. I had it in my mind, but I can't remember it. So I'm going to say goodbye. Everyone have a great day.